Hey, can everyone see me? Unfortunately, this might just be a one-way hangout as I can't hear you guys. But if you do have questions, feel free to just shoot them over to Amanda and she can Skype them to me. Just making sure this is going to work here. Once I get confirmation, I'll just go ahead and start the presentation itself, but still waiting to get confirmation. Okay, great. So now that all of us can be present here and see me, I thought I'd introduce myself first. My name is Matthew Rowett. I'm the Director of Admissions at CRCC Asia. I believe I've spoken with several of you just about your interest in the China Internship programs, and I look forward to speaking with the rest of you if I haven't spoken with you already. But just to introduce my role and my job here at CRCC Asia. Basically, I am in charge of pre-departure and seeing the students off to go to China. And actually, this summer, I will be in Shenzhen in, let's see, early June to start our June 2nd program. So if you're going to be in Shenzhen, I might actually be meeting you there and picking you up from the airport. To get started with this presentation itself, give me 1 second while I pull up this PowerPoint. But all we're really doing today is going over just CRCC Asia's programs as well as the LSA partnership with CRCC Asia. And if you guys do have any questions, feel free to let Amanda know, and she can just Skype them to me while we're doing this webinar. And then, of course, I'll try to answer them in the just in this PowerPoint here. To give you a brief background on CRCC Asia, we were founded in 2008, and basically in 2006, CRCC was split into two entities. One was China Recruiting, and the other was China Consulting. In 2008, we ran our first programs, and this company was founded by a guy named Daniel Nivern, who works with me in the San Francisco office here, and then by Edward Holroyd Pierce, who both met each other in the UK. And both Ed and Dan have extensive China background. Dan actually started by going to China in Hebei province a while back, and Ed started a consulting agency based out of Beijing originally. In terms of CRCC Asia in general, we are still a very young company. We were only founded in 2006, but overall we've sent over 6,000 students to China, and this is from all around the world. So we do have offices in Sydney, Australia, as well as in Venice, as well as the UK was our founding office. To go over our values, we do believe in a commitment to people, a commitment to professionalism, and of course a commitment to global partnership. The main idea behind CRCC Asia was that we saw way back when Dan was founding this, we saw that there were a lot of Chinese students who were actually coming to the US or going to the UK to study at American universities or British universities to understand how to do business in America. But there weren't as many American or UK or Western students actually studying in Asia and learning the Chinese business culture. So we were founded with the idea of bridging the gap between young people like yourselves and of course the Chinese business culture, just to give you guys a sense of the Chinese business acumen required to really succeed in this increasingly globalized world. So in terms of our aim, we specialize in connecting China and the global community through the most popular China Internship program, which you guys will all be on. We also have study abroad programs through our partners in China, in our Shanghai University's East China Normal University, as well as the Beijing University of Finance and Economics. And then we all also are the leading provider of internships in China. So that means that on a given year, we send around 1,000 American students. And we just actually opened offices here in San Francisco in 2011. To give you a brief idea of CRCC Asia's growth, we opened that London office in 2006. In 2008, we ran that first program, and that was really a program that Dan started from the basement of his mom's flat, actually. And this was something that he dreamed about, and he went over to Beijing, hired someone who had connections with some local companies there, and lived with a few interns. From that first program, which was about 20 students or so, we've been growing and growing, and now we send basically over 1,000 to 2,000 interns per year. In terms of our global offices, we do have offices, like I said, in London, Beijing, and then our three main locations in China are going to be Beijing, Shenzhen, and of course, Shanghai. In terms of the wider community, I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with the 100,000 Strong initiative, but it was a foundation that was basically founded by Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State. And the 100,000 Strong initiative, we've actually accomplished, surprisingly enough, but it was an organization that meant to get 100,000 US students learning Chinese, and then, of course, going to China to study. So we are great supporters of the 100,000 Strong Foundation, and because of that, a lot of our students actually complete our programs through either scholarships like you guys will get through the LSA school, or scholarships like the Benjamin A. Gilman Scholarship, which is a scholarship program that is State Department funding from basically administered by IIE. We are also the winners of the British Business Awards and the Cathay Pacific China Business Awards for being innovative. And we were basically recognized as very entrepreneurial back when this company opened. And in 2010, we received this award. We also do have government contracts. So unfortunately, we do not yet work with the US government sending students over. But for the Generation UK program, which is run through the British Council, we send around 150 students per year paid in full by the British government. We also partner in Australia with the, I guess, city-state government of Canberra, the capital of Australia. And from Canberra, we send another 50 students, all on government funding. To give you a brief background on some of the achievements that CRCC Asia has accomplished, we did get to meet, quite famously, Li Keqiang, who is the premier of China. And during this meeting, we talked about, of course, education in China, as well as learning more about how to get more students interested in studying in China. Right now, China is kind of like the Wild West. There are plenty of opportunities out there for people who are looking to get into business, get into education, etc. And we really serve as the connecting body to really foster that sense of global business acumen to allow our students to understand China in general. We also do have a lecture series in the UK, and in the US, we do run the China-US Entrepreneurship Club based out of San Francisco. Last week, we just held an event with the Asia Society, a famous nonprofit that's based in New York. But if you guys are ever in the San Francisco area, you guys are more than welcome to come to any of CRCC Asia's lecture series. We also do have a China Goes Global series, which similarly is a lecture group. In terms of social responsibility, every year CRCC Asia sponsors around 12 global scholarships, up to $30,000 US in funding, basically showing our commitment to getting as many students in China as possible. And of course, we do work with organizations and schools like University of Michigan, who are really helping us achieve this goal to get as many students in China to really understand the Chinese business acumen. While you're in China, we also do have a volunteering event, an annual charity day, which I can speak more about when I go through just the programs in general. But we partner with the Migrant Children's Laborers Foundation. So it's basically the Migrant Laborers Children's Foundation. So it's basically the migrant children who are kind of the disadvantaged area of society that has not been addressed by the central government yet. And we volunteer with them on a monthly basis just to make sure that our students don't just see the glitzy, glamorous life of either working in a finance firm in China, but also see, what really drives China's development forward. And then, of course, we have the Alumni Entrepreneurship Fund. So after your graduation from CRCC Asia's programs, you're automatically qualified to be a part of the Alumni Entrepreneurship Fund. Every year, we give out around 10,000 US dollars to students who are basically founding startups, who are very entrepreneurial. For example, this year, we are funding an opportunity made by a University of Pennsylvania student named Elizabeth Opong, who was actually just written up in the China Daily. She's founded a nonprofit called WeLinks, which is based in Shenzhen, where she did her internship. And WeLinks is a global empowerment agency, a nonprofit that basically coordinates giving Chinese women access to mentorship from US business students, if that makes sense. So it's a very great thing that we have here. And if you're interested in entrepreneurship, if you're interested in doing a startup, you can always get in touch with us after your program. In terms of internships themselves, CRCC Asia's programs really stress that internships are going to be what eventually will get you a job. CRCC Asia works in part as a recruiting agency, but also as a consulting agency, in that for every single company we work with, we do need to make sure that they provide a professional development experience to our students. So that means that whatever company that CRCC Asia presents to you, it will be a professional development experience with a supervisor who has a specific intern action plan based off of your interests and based off your goals for the program, which is really why in my role, I interview as well as advise students just to find out a little bit more about what you're hoping to gain from this program. In terms of the importance of internships, we see that there's a lot of cultural integration where you really understand Chinese business acumen just through working there. Of course, there's practical skills. So for example, if you have no finance background, but you want a finance internship, we can possibly hook that up for you. And then with this finance internship, you can get into that relevant field after graduation or continue on that field, sophomore, junior, or senior year. And then, of course, the professional development. So you really understand how to network. CRCC Asia is all about this commitment to networking and global partnerships. So that means that we do partner with the American Chamber of Commerce and the China-Britain Business Council to really give you guys a sense of what it's like to actually do business in China. Then, of course, the big question here is why China? I'm sure all of you guys have heard Donald Trump go on and on about China in general. But China right now is the world's largest trading partner. It is the industry leader in science and technology. If you're interested in green technology, China is set to invest, or actually Beijing, the central government, is set to invest $3 trillion by 2030 into green technology and green energy. So if you're still thinking about a career, I think green energy and green tech might be a great field to go into. China, of course, has the largest foreign currency reserves in the world, world's third largest investor overseas, of course, and then China also created more than 10 million new urban jobs in 2011. The rate of China's growth is just astounding, especially when you scale it to the amount of people in China. And that's something that in our programs we really stress. When we talk about companies like Tencent and Baidu and Alibaba that pull in more than 49 billion per year, all of these companies really have this success from really tapping into the largest market in the world. So China right now is going to be the largest consumer economy. And right now they are in a transition to really become that consumer economy, if that makes sense. In terms of our locations, and of course during our advising sessions, I can go into more depth just in terms of what might work for you. But to give you a brief background, Beijing is of course the center of Chinese government. It is a bit more conservative than the other locations. And because of that, basically it is a very Chinese experience. If you have never been to China before, if you want to learn about Chinese culture, I think Beijing is a perfect city for that. And honestly, in the summer, it's not too polluted. So during the winter months, when of course all the coal burning plants are going, it gets a bit hazy. But during the summer, while you guys will be there, it's actually quite blue, which surprised me the first few times that I went to Beijing. In terms of Beijing in general, it has a very strong legal sector. If you're interested in practicing international law, we work with the WIPO in Beijing, as well as large multinational companies that really focus on foreign direct investment and trade. But most of it is going to be in the humanitarian type fields. So if you're looking for a policy internship, we do have a lot of NGOs and nonprofits based in Beijing, as well as some stronger business placements. For example, in Beijing, we work with American Apparel, as well as some larger placements like Johnson & Johnson. Shanghai, of course, is the former financial center of China. It still is a very big financial center. But in terms of Shanghai in general, it's not a very Chinese city. Shanghai has basically been a foreign city for it's basically since the 1800s. And because of this, you will be able to get around Shanghai if you've never been to China, never spoken any Chinese. Shanghai is a great city to really get that international experience. In Shanghai, there's of course a multitude of great and very strong finance placements. There's great healthcare placements if you're into healthcare and pharmaceuticals. It is really our largest city in terms of partnerships with host companies, just because it is so big. Last but not least, my favorite city, which I'm actually going to be in for that June 2nd start date, is the southern city of Shenzhen. Now, most people have probably never heard of Shenzhen just because it is a very up-and-coming city. But Shenzhen is actually right across the border from Hong Kong. So you would actually be flying into the Hong Kong International Airport. And then, of course, taking a 25-minute ferry ride over to Shenzhen. The reason why I love Shenzhen, and I think everyone will love Shenzhen, is that it is a very young city. It only was, a small city of around 300,000 people in the late 1980s, a small fishing village basically north of Hong Kong. But it was transformed by Deng Xiaoping, the late Chinese leader, into the first special economic region and special economic zone of China, meaning that all foreign direct investment in southern China has to move through Shenzhen. So that means that there are plenty of multinational companies there. It's been called the Silicon Valley of China currently. So that means that there are plenty of giant tech corporations. So for example, Tencent, the owners of WeChat, are based in Shenzhen, which we work with. So it's really a great city to really test out your entrepreneurial skills. Walking down the streets in Shenzhen, you constantly see people who are from San Francisco, just because all San Francisco startups do source their hardware products from Shenzhen, and all accelerators, so startup accelerators, actually go to Shenzhen. So Shenzhen's a great city for biotech, it's a great city for innovation, and it's our strongest engineering placements if we have any engineers in the room. In terms of the sectors that we offer at CRCC Asia, this is a list of just our most common sectors. So I'm not going to go through them all, just because I'm sure you guys can see all of them. But if you're interested in a very specific thing, our China teams are very good at either onboarding host companies or formulating job descriptions that match your interests. For example, last year we had a student who was interested in making documentaries, and that falls kind of under the media and creative industries subsector here, but we placed them in a documentary filmmaking team in, I think it was, in Shanghai last year, and they had a blast. So if you're interested in, I don't know, the business side of art galleries, we can do that, as well as, of course, all of these other sectors. So legal placements, as well as finance and accounting and business placements, all of these are very doable because we do work with over 600 companies in China. In terms of the internship demographics, this chart is slightly outdated here, but we see the majority of our students are still looking to get either finance or accounting experience. So that means that students who don't have finance experience on their resumes and they just want to understand how the Chinese financial markets work, we can always accommodate those people. I would like to note, for the finance industries, we do not work in investment banking, and that's only because it is a very competitive industry. And of course, you do have to have a very big background with Chinese. So you have to speak fluent Mandarin, of course, to be investment banking. That being said, in finance, we do work with asset management, wealth management and advisory, private equity, as well as insurance. So I'm confident that just through our conversations, we can work out the best placement for you based on your interests. We do have a lot of marketing students. We work with some of the bigger marketing and advertising agencies worldwide, as well as some in-house marketing teams. So for example, we had 2 students last year on the University of Oregon program who went to Lenovo in Shanghai to work on the marketing and business development team. And Lenovo is, of course, the Chinese computer manufacturer. Legal placements are becoming more and more popular. Of course, we can't really focus on criminal justice law just because criminal justice law is quite different in China, but most of it is going to be in corporate and commercial law, including but not limited to intellectual property law, mergers and acquisitions, etc. Engineering is a largely growing sector for us, and we do have, I think it's around 50 different engineering type placements. We've had students build everything from UADs to sustainable hockey rinks, which I never knew was a thing, but apparently there was a student working on that last summer in Shenzhen, to green tech. So there's a lot of green tech placements right now that include, manufacturing PVCs as well as using AutoCAD to sketch wind turbines, etc. In terms of the China Internship program itself and what's included in the program, I'll let you guys read through that. But to give you a brief walkthrough, basically all of our programs do start on Thursday. So that Thursday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is generally when we offer an airport pickup service. So for example, we have the majority of you students starting on either the May 5th, June 2nd, or June 30th start dates. So that means that on June 2nd, for example, you would arrive in the Shanghai International Airport, and we're going to be there right after you get outside of the immigration, and of course collect your baggage. We'll be there with a big CRCC Asia sign. So we offer that airport pickup service. That evening, we take you to your accommodations. You will be living with another CRCC Asia intern. Most likely, they're going to be an American student, just because we do coordinate it usually like that. They will be of the same gender. But in our accommodations, which I can go over a little bit more, private bedroom. You'll just be sharing a kitchen as well as a living space as well as a bathroom, if that makes sense. We also offer all the pre-departure assistance, so that's where my role comes in terms of visa processing and supporting you in hopefully getting you the perfect internship to suit your needs. Induction course, which is basically a full day of orientation on that Friday after you arrive. The formal welcome banquet, which is going to be that Friday evening. And then during that induction course, we give you a welcome pack with some important information. We do offer all of our students a SIM card, which means if you do have a GSM unlocked phone, feel free to bring that. And then all you have to do is slip in the SIM card, and then you'll have a Chinese number. Alternatively, if you wanted to bring an extra, it's usually around $50 to $100 US. You can always buy a cheap Chinese smartphone there, which might work as well. Of course, we do offer weekly Mandarin lessons. These will by no means, make you fluent in the language if you don't have a background in it already, but they will give you a chance to practice and really learn how to get around China. 24/7 support and guidance. So for example, I'll be in Shenzhen this year, and I'll be in capacity as a resident director. So if you do have questions, you can always just knock on my door or just shoot me a WeChat message or just call my cell. So we're there to help out. I speak Chinese fluently, so if you're stuck in a taxi and don't know where to go, feel free to just call our program managers. And then of course we also host social and cultural events. So a lot of these include dumpling making classes, but the cultural events are really key in making sure that this is not just a work experience, but also a study abroad experience. Here's a picture of airport pickup. Like I said, we'll be waiting right outside with a big CRCC Asia banner. We're hard to miss, and we actually make sure that we have all of your flight details on file. So that means if your flight is delayed, do not worry, we'll be tracking it. And we actually do work with an organization called Student Universe, which offers student travel tickets that will update our teams if the flight's delayed. And then they'll also be, available to troubleshoot. So if your flight is delayed and you can't make your connecting flight, Student Universe will be there to make sure that you get on that connecting flight. In terms of accommodation, accommodation is extremely nice. We've heard nothing but great things from our students. In Shenzhen, you will be very close to the Shekou International Trading Port. And most of our accommodations are going to be around 20 to 30 minutes commute. At the longest, it's a 40-minute commute to your internship via public transportation. In Beijing, you will be located in the Qijiuba, the 798 Art District, where Ai Weiwei actually has his compound. Very up-and-coming, very hip and trendy area. Very close to Chaoyang, so that means that's very close to the center of the city. It generally takes a 20-minute bus ride to get to most of the internships. And then, of course, in Shanghai, you'll be right in Pudong. So the Pudong region is where the Shanghai Financial Center is. And it generally takes our interns around probably a bit longer than 30 to 40 minutes. So sometimes 30 to 50 minutes getting to their internship sites, just because Shanghai is, of course, a broad and bigger city. But within our accommodations, like I said, you will be sharing with another CRCC Asia intern. You'll have, your own private bedroom, as you can see on the top left-hand corner there. But you'll also have, a living area where you can hang out and watch TV. And then, of course, the kitchen. The kitchens always include a laundry machine. I would like to note in China, there's no such thing as dryers. Dryers are a very Western thing. So make sure that, when you're doing your laundry, make sure to plan that you'll have to hang them up to air dry, if that makes sense. Here's the induction day. So this is the Friday after you arrive. So we pick you up on Thursday, you spend the night in the accommodations, and then on Friday, the induction day really begins very early in the morning. For that induction day, we have different seminars. We go through, what to expect in your internship. We go through some of the basic Chinese concepts like guanxi and mianzi, which basically are all about doing business in China and forming those interpersonal relationships, if that makes sense. During this time, we of course also give you that welcome pack and then just tell you how to get around the city. And of course, our program managers are there to make sure that you understand. Company drop-off day is a crazy and hectic day for us, but it's a fun day for you guys because this is when you meet your supervisors. But for that June 2nd program, we'll probably be dropping off upwards of 50 to 100 students to the relevant host companies. And that means that we all have you guys in vans, and we drop you off to the companies, and then you meet your supervisors. All of our supervisors, I would like to note, are English speaking. If you would like a solely Chinese speaking environment, we can also arrange that. But I would like to note that all of the supervisors are either expats who have been living in China for a while, or Chinese nationals who have studied extensively in the US, UK, Australia, etc. On weeknights, we do host Mandarin classes. So this is after a day of work. So this is an optional program. However, we encourage it very heavily just because the Mandarin class really allows you to get the most out of your time in China. The nice thing about the Mandarin House, who we work with, is that they can custom tailor basically the classes to match your level. So say you've taken 1 semester of Chinese or 2 semesters of Chinese, because they have a lot of different students, they can custom tailor a class size as well as just a basic introductory class. The basic introductory classes for people who have never taken Chinese before are of course going to be a bit bigger. We also host China business seminars to walk our students through just how to do business in China. We invite guest speakers. Last year, we had someone from HSBC come in to talk about the financial markets in China, which might interest some of you. We also do have speakers like people from Cathay Pacific. Last year, we also had a speaker from Coca-Cola come in and talk to our students. It's a great chance to network, which is why you see everyone in suits there. Great way to pass your name along, pass your resume along. And as part of this program, we actually do provide everyone with 200 business cards printed in both English and Chinese, because we really want you guys to be reaching out and really taking advantage of these connections that we offer to you. Social and cultural events. We used to do calligraphy classes. They were a bit boring, so we cut that out. And instead now we do acrobatics type shows and stuff like that, as well as KTV. I'm not sure if any of you have been to China or have heard about KTV before, but it's a crazy night of karaoke where you basically rent a private room and have a TV screen that you just belt songs to. In terms of other events, we do host dumpling making classes, and these are, bi-monthly, sometimes every other week. But usually these social and cultural events coincide with, the Thursday nights. So if you had to leave a bit early from your relevant internship, some of our internship host companies are very okay with that. Community outreach, like I said, we do partner with the Migrant Laborers Children's Foundation. So that means that you'll get to see basically how these underprivileged and youth really interact with their surrounding communities. I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with the Chinese hukou system, but the hukou system is basically like a national passport system. So for example, if you had a California driver's license, if I tried to move to Michigan and tried to live in Ann Arbor, I would not be eligible for any of the healthcare that's provided by the government in Michigan because I'm originally from California. So this is something that, citywide and provincially, China is still sorting out. So this is why there are a lot of migrant laborers who don't have access to healthcare as well as free education. So the Migrant Laborers Children's Foundation really makes sure that these students who don't have access to free education have access to different types of education. So they're enrolled in private schools, and we really go to visit to make sure that they're understanding that the global community recognizes what's going on there. In terms of host companies, a lot of the students that I talk to ask questions, can you release a list of host companies? Unfortunately, I can't, just because we do have NDAs signed with a lot of our host companies. And honestly, the list is very broad because we do work with over 600. There are multinational companies that we work with. For example, we do work with KPMG in Shanghai. However, we don't like to advertise, the bigger names, of course, just because we can't force or entice or bribe any host company to take our students. But instead, what we do is we present your application as a viable applicant to their own internal internship programs. And because of our strong relationships with these host companies, usually they accept you. In terms of some of the host companies we've worked with, CBRE is the big real estate conglomerate. If you're interested in hospitality, we have everything from the Hilton to the Ascot branch to the Westin. If you're interested in technology, we work with some of the bigger, larger technology corporations in IT, such as Tencent as well as Lenovo. But if you're interested in basically a domestic Chinese company, there are plenty of opportunities. If you're interested in a multinational company, there are also plenty of opportunities. However, like I said, it will be a bit more competitive, if that makes sense. Intern age, most of our interns are going to be college aged, just like yourselves, so 18 to 22. There are some times that we have recent graduates from either schools around the US or worldwide go on our programs. And then of course we do have the rare student who is a bit older who wants to change their careers. So really CRCC Asia, because of the service we provide with placing students in that professional development internship, it'll allow you to really jumpstart your career here. Testimonials, I'll just breeze through this because all of these can be found online, and I'm sure because you have two University of Michigan students with you right now, you can talk a little bit more about their experiences. And then, of course, in terms of program add-ons, some of you guys are actually signed up for the intensive language program, which is a 1-month intensive Chinese language program run through the Mandarin House, followed by a 1-month internship or a 2-month internship, depending on your interests. 20 hours of tuition per week. They do field trips. It's a very immersive program, and I think it's the best way to learn Chinese. If some of you have been taking Chinese before, you might ask, why don't we partner with the universities? And honestly, we do. We have great partnerships with universities in both Shanghai and Beijing. But in general, we found that the Mandarin House provides great quality of lessons because they can really custom tailor it to each foreign student. In terms of living in China, this is something that I really like to cover in this because a lot of my students ask me, what's going to happen when I'm over in China? Life behind the Great Firewall. What can I do to contact home? What can I do to, use Facebook, etc.? First of all, a lot of Western services, including Gmail, etc., are going to be hard to access. And that's only because China still has a monopoly on the internet. All internet service providers are state-owned. And because of that, they are going to be a bit more restrictive, right? The Communist Party wants to make sure that basically everyone on the internet is understanding the party line, just so that they don't incite rebellion, etc. So what does that mean for you? That means it's going to be hard to contact home if you don't have a Yahoo Mail account. So I would urge you to either sign up for a Yahoo Mail account just because it's the only one that's usually not blocked in China. If you want, you can download the data messaging app WeChat or Weixin. And WeChat is really a great way to communicate with our program managers, as well as myself while I'm over in China, as well as just in general the greater populations of China, right? Everyone in China uses WeChat. It's basically their Facebook. I think it has over 700 million users, but I think that number is rapidly growing. So it's a lot of people. And basically, when you meet a Chinese person, they're going to ask you, do you have a WeChat to stay in touch? Skype works in China. Sometimes it might be a bit slow, which is why sometimes I do recommend purchasing a VPN. If you don't know what a VPN stands for, it's called a virtual private network. And a VPN basically connects your IP address to another server worldwide. So say I want to access Facebook in Shanghai, right? The Chinese internet will not allow me to access Facebook in Shanghai, but with a VPN, I can connect my router and I can connect my server and all my internet traffic to reroute to a server in, for say, San Francisco here. And that means that you can access Facebook just like you're accessing San Francisco. VPNs are a paid-for service. You can find free ones online, but usually the free ones don't work. So for example, an ExpressVPN, which is that logo there, it costs around $12.95 a month if you're interested in accessing Facebook. Honestly, for a 1-month, 2-month, or 3-month program, I don't think it's that necessary. If you're tied to Instagram and social media, you can of course purchase one, but it's not absolutely essential. But I would like to note that just doing normal GChat and Gmail and stuff like that, it is a bit harder with a VPN. Without a VPN, sorry. Navigating the cities. So basically, after you start your internship, you will be expected to go to and from your relevant host company on your own. And this is where our program managers come in to show you the subway systems, as well as the bus lines. But in terms of the subway systems, China's subways are extremely efficient. To move, 10.5 million people in Shenzhen and 28 million people in Shanghai is no easy feat. So all of the public transportation systems are extremely fast and efficient. As you probably know, it will be crowded. That's just China for you. But that's some of the fun challenges about living in China as well. In terms of the add-ons to the program, we also can put you on a 21-day backpacking tour throughout China. If this is your first time through China, I think this is a great opportunity. We can send you through Beijing to camp on the Great Wall to see the sunrise and sunset on a remote region in the Great Wall. We take you to Xi'an to see, the terracotta warriors. We take you to Chengdu to see the pandas, Guilin, and Yangshuo. Yangshuo is a beautiful karst limestone formation in the province of Guilin to do some bamboo rafting and caving and stuff like that. It's really an all-expense paid-for trip, and I think it's an extra $1,600 just to our normal programs. But it is 21 days of backpacking throughout some of the best regions in China. I actually have wanted to go on the Dragon trip for a long time now, just because I think it's a great way to really see China. Funny thing about our program partners, the Dragon Trip, they actually recently opened a North Korea trip as well. So if you're interested in that, we could advise you on going to a very secluded North Korea tour. China Internship Program, we are constantly in the media. China Daily just released an article on us, like I said, outlining Elizabeth Openg and her WeLinks, the global mentorship for Chinese women. We're constantly in Business Week, the Wall Street Journal, the BBC just did an article on us again. And then CNBC, my director, was actually just featured talking about basically entrepreneurship in China. Online, we do have a YouTube page, Facebook, etc. All of this can be found in my email signature. If you've emailed me before, you can just click on any of these links. But we have pre-departure Facebook groups as well. And then in terms of our offices, we do have worldwide offices as well. So there is a video here that I'm actually going to hold off on, just because you guys can find this video online, but it does walk us through, the pre-departure orientation and stuff like that. But I would like to touch base before I open it up for more questions to just the pre-departure side of things. So basically, this is a very collaborative process, and once we have your application, so once you apply online at crccasia.com/apply, we reach out to you and schedule an advising session. This advising session is really only a 15 to 20 minute advising session to talk through your interest in the program, as well as walk through any questions you might have. And then I'll be telling you, what types of internship opportunities we might have for you based off of your interests, right? After this advising session, we have to pass this off to our China teams, your application off to the China teams with your resume, and they really take some time to review it to make sure you're placeable, and then we'll be sending you an offer letter, right? And with this offer, that means you're guaranteed an internship through CRCC Asia. Once you receive that offer, we will be requesting a $300 deposit, and this deposit is really going to secure your spot on the program and just basically start us getting the ball rolling on securing placements for you, and then of course processing your visa, etc. I would like to note that because you are University of Michigan students going through the LSA department, you will be receiving a $300 discount, but still we would like to receive the deposit, and then afterwards we take that discount out of your final program total, if that makes sense, just so we know that you're committed to the program, and just so we can start walking you through the next steps there. In terms of what those next steps are, around March and April and late February, we do expect basically a final payment. So once we have that final payment, we can really secure that that spot for you on our program, book your accommodations, and then of course work out your visa. So the visas that we get students over on are going to be either the M or the F visa, if you are a US passport holder. And these visas are for short-term business and cultural exchange. Unfortunately, you can't be paid on these visas, as in the eyes of the Chinese government, you're there really to learn about Chinese business culture and not there to legally work. So that means that you can't be paid on these visas, but most of the time our students get 10-year multiple entry M visas, which means that if you get a 90-day visa from our program, that means that within 10 years you can re-enter China whenever you want and get another 90 days, which is always great to see. In terms of the visas themselves, we do need you guys to be responsive to emails because my colleague in our Pennsylvania office, Connie Meyer, really goes through the entire process with you. And she'll be filling out the actual application itself and emailing you the completed application afterwards. So in terms of just the application in general, we handle that. We handle getting you the invitation letter. What we need to make sure is that you have a relevant and active US passport so that you can send it to our visa processing agencies. So when you send your your passport, you send that invitation letter that we have you print out, as well as the application form itself. And then, of course, just your passport and 2 passport style photos to our visa processing agencies. And that's included in the program tuition, so they invoice us for all of that. I think that's all I need to do in terms of pre-departure. I would like to note that once you have booked your flights, either through Student Universe or individually, we would like to see that confirmation email just forwarded to us so our China teams can know exactly when you're coming and when to pick you up. But other than that, I think we should be all set here. Thank you guys again so much for your time. I apologize that this was such a lengthy lecture type thing. I thought this would be more interactive. But if you do have any questions, feel free to either enter them in the sidebar here or just talk to Amanda and she can shoot them over. I'll turn off screen sharing. This might be awkward just seeing my face. We're waiting for the questions. But yeah, feel free to ask me any questions you might have. And like I said, I will be in Shenzhen for that June 2nd start date, so I might be meeting a few of you. Great, any questions that I can have? Great, so I see we have a couple questions rolling in. So I'm going to take a drink of water. My voice is parched just from that presentation. Definitely. So in terms of the scholarships, there are multiple funding opportunities for our programs. So if you applied to our CRCC Asia internal scholarship program, which I think was running in early November, this works a lot better. Let me stop broadcasting first of all.